So today we're going to talk about one of the most common causes of dementia, which is Alzheimer's disease, also known as Alzheimer's disease, which are the loss of neurons in the brain, specifically the cortex. There are two major components dealing with the causes of Alzheimer's disease, which are plaques and tangles, which we will go more into depth within the video. So here you have a cell membrane, and within this cell membrane you have the amyloid precursor protein, which is also known as APP, which helps the neuron grow and repair from injuries. It's also used and broken down and recycled by alpha secretase. And once that happens, the polypeptide becomes soluble and it goes away. That means everything will be fine. But in most cases dealing with Alzheimer's disease, rather than that, you have beta and gamma secretase coming together. And what this does is rather make it soluble, it doesn't become soluble. And it creates monomers called amyloid beta, which are sticky bonds and together out with sticky bonds that are outside of the neuron and forms amyloid beta plaques, which are clumps of these monomers. Which these clumps of monomers, which are amyloid plaques, they come between the neurons, which messes up the neuron-to-neuron signaling. If the brain can't signal and rely information, this causes memory function. Well, memory impairment. And that is about the amyloid plaques. So we're about to go into a little bit depth about the tangles. So one thing to remember about the amyloid plaques is that it's always outside of the cell, versus tangles will be inside the cell. In which within this is the cytoskeleton, which ships nutrients across the cell and which are made up of microtubules. So what's said to be done dealing with Alzheimer's is these plaques outside of the neuron basically messes up the neuron-to-neuron signaling that soon comes in and messes up the communication with inside of the neuron. So within these, like I've stated before, you have microtubules right here that keeps the cell together. And you have these tau proteins that helps maintain the structure within that cytoskeleton. But because of these plaques outside of the cell, they create something that's called kinase, which transfers phosphate groups to the tau protein. And what it does is it messes up that little, how can I explain it? It basically changes the shape and stops supporting the microtubules within the cytoskeleton. And instead, these taus begin to clump up together and gets tangled, which leads to tangles. And because of this, neurons can't signal well, and that can lead to cell death within the neurons. And once that happens within the neuron, your brain begins to shrink. And that is pretty much how Alzheimer's disease comes about. But no one knows why it occurs or how, but we all know that it's basically biological factors that not biological factors, it's basically environmental factors that you intake throughout your years of life that can lead to Alzheimer's disease. Thank you.